What's up guys, Julio here back with Profound Image Consulting. Hope you guys are doing well. In today's video, we're talking about men's insecurities, how to deal with them, and how to find a solution. So if that sounds interesting enough to you guys, let's go ahead and dive into it. So the first insecurity men have is their body image. Now here's the thing, you can't change the way your face looks. You can't change your height if we're being practical here. And most men actually have this insecurity in the first place because the way they think they're being perceived by others, especially the ones that are close to them. You have to stop looking and comparing yourself to other people because you think that is the norm. Truth is, you don't know what other people are going through in their personal lives. You don't know their problems. Not to mention that you have your own set of problems to deal with as well. So it's best to just focus on yourself and change what you can and just stay in control of what you can as well. As I said earlier, guys, you can't change your height, you can't change the way your face looks, but what you can change is your body. And what I mean by that, guys, is to focus a little bit on your physical development. It's gonna help you in the long run. I mean, just sculpt your body to your preference, and a little bit of discipline is going to be required here. But the truth is, guys, if this is a true insecurity to you, if this does bother you, that your body image is not what you want it to be, as I mentioned earlier, you can fix that. It's going to take a bit of discipline, but ultimately you're going to have the confidence to take control and just sculpt your body to the way that you want it to be. Not to mention that it's just going to make you feel so much better, and it's just best to get yourself in the best shape possible. And the second insecurity, guys, that ties into the first one I just mentioned, and the insecurity again that men have is their height. Guys, you have to stop thinking that everyone over 6 feet is superior to you. And I get that this can be a very difficult thing to do, especially for shorter guys, because women already give a bad rep, especially when they're out there, you know, shouting to the roof that if you're not 6 feet, then you aren't a man. And that's just not true, guys. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and putting yourself down to the ground because you think that the guy that's 6 feet tall or taller than you is gonna get that better looking girl, is gonna get that promotion, because that's just not true. If you keep thinking that way, then ultimately that is gonna be true. Guys, have some confidence, grow some balls. Confidence is the single best attractive quality that you can have, and it shows. And guys, there are tons of successful and wealthy short guys out there that even get the better looking ambitious woman. You too can have this if you just put your mind to whatever it is that you want. Just remember to work harder, be smarter, and I promise you, you'll stop looking at that one taller guy and think that you lost to him because of his height. Remember, women have their preference, but so do you. All right, and the third insecurity men have in their lives is financial security. Now, there's this constant question in every guy's head of what is it that their future holds? What should I do now? And this can be very intimidating for the guy that has to take care of a family, the guy that has financial responsibilities. So what do? And look, guys, most men struggle, they have worries, and not to mention that financial worrying is one of the hardest things to go through, and it can be very stressful as well. Now, the great thing about having this insecurity is that you can change it. You can flip it to a positive for you. Now, here's the thing. Most men wait till their back is against the wall until they act. Well, I say don't do that. If you have the opportunity to make money, to build wealth, to do something that's going to change you and elevate you to the next level, you got to take that step. You got to take that action now. And look, don't be afraid to spend a little money to bring home more money in the long run. Develop a plan, develop a strategy, and especially with your partner. If you have a partner, do this with your partner. It's great for the relationship, and it can be considered a great team building exercise. If you start doing these things, I promise it's gonna get a lot easier in terms of you not thinking about the financial security in the back of your head of how you're gonna get to the next month, how you're going to get to the next year. You're going to start thinking of what I can do, right? What you can do to elevate you even further. And look, this is a sticky topic, so I know that this can be very difficult for a lot of guys out there. So if you are someone that's struggling with financial security, Develop some sort of coping strategy, if you will, that's going to help you balance out that thought process of what you can do for your future, but also be able to live in the present as well. All right, the fourth thing that men are insecure about that ties into what we just talked about a minute ago is money. Now guys, this one is huge. I know tons of guys out there that struggle with this, and ultimately everyone is tied to some sort of occupation to bring home money, whether that be trading in your time for money or trading assets for money. And here's the thing that bothers me with this, is that one of the most common questions that you get from anyone that you meet brand new is, what do you do for a living? Now first, let me point out, if you are someone that is working somewhere that's very unhealthy, is not bringing you enough value, and it's not paying you enough as well, I don't recommend, but I challenge you to find a new profession or find a new job, new work that is going to bring you more value into your life, and it's going to pay you much more for that. And it's important to know that the reality is a lot of men out there do have a financial responsibility, they have a financial obligation, and they work where they work because they have to. And that is a choice made by that said person, but it is different for everyone. But if you are someone that is struggling with this insecurity, number one, you need to stop thinking that you need to meet the other person's expectation. And number two, if you do find yourself in this conversation where someone asks you, what do you do for a living? Think in a much more broader perspective. What I mean by that is this: you have much more to offer than just where you work, right? You have a passion, you have something you're working on, you're building something, I don't know, whatever it is that is your pride and joy, that's what you want to talk about. When you start talking about those things, you're going to find that the conversation will shift in a much more positive outlook. All right, and the next thing on the list that men are insecure about is they show too much emotion. Now, how many times have you heard that men are not supposed to cry? Men are not supposed to complain about anything, right? And I can't tell you how many times I personally heard this myself. But this is not reality, guys. Pain and joy have a correlation to one another. So when you choose to numb out the pain, you're actually numbing out the joy, which is not what you want. Therefore, as men, I want us to understand that expressing emotion or too much emotion is not something that's wrong, but human. And it only makes sense that we think this way, or we're told to think this way because of how we were raised, because of our past, or whatever it is that made you think this certain way. And know that if someone tells you otherwise, again, it's probably because of their past. It may be because of something else that we don't know that's going on in their life, or the way they were taught, again, a certain way. Find a way to recalibrate the way you think, guys. Find a way to recalibrate your thought process. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge to do, but once you do get the grasp of it, the main point I'm trying to make is when you express emotion, especially pain, and you're open to expressing that pain, it's going to be a lot easier to express happiness as well, which deserves one of these. All right, and the last insecurity that men have, in my opinion, is not thinking that they are good enough. In all honesty, guys, I find this one to just be a confidence issue. There are enough of us guys out there that can admit and say that we have all struggled with confidence at one point or another, and also struggle with the feeling of just feeling that you're not good enough. And we can change this, guys, by presenting the best package that we can of ourselves. But how do we do that, right? How do you do that? It's really simple, guys. Work on yourselves. Change your mindset. Again, change the way you think. If we start working on ourselves, inside and out, we stop thinking that we are not good enough, but instead start thinking that we can, we are able to do whatever it is that we put our minds to. The crazy thing, guys, is that things just start to happen, weirdly enough, when you start taking the necessary steps that are going to take you somewhere much more further and propel you forward. But you're gonna find if you don't take those steps, if you don't take the necessary steps required to propel you forward, you're gonna wind up in the same position, if not worse situation than you were before. Stop feeling the way you do if it's negative and change the way of your thinking so that you can continue to grow, so you can continue to become the best version of yourself. Just remember this, guys, a better today would lead to a better tomorrow. Look, guys, we are our own biggest critics. And the great thing about being your own critic is that you can change all the negative insecurities that you have and change them into great things. Alright guys, that does it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Remember that I do offer virtual online services, link down below, so check them out. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.